Welcome back. So far, everything we presented, I hear some of you going, okay, that's great for functional skills, but what about the Common Core state standards that we're required to meet in general education? Well, let's discuss that. We must remember that the Common Core state standards was developed for specific but a large spectrum purpose. It has standards for grades K through 8, and then bands for 9 and 10, and then 11th and 12th. It's results-based rather than on the means to an end, so it focuses on the product more than the process. It expects an integrated model of literacy and math instruction instead of teaching concepts of literature or math in isolation. So writing instruction is part of reading instruction and vice versa. Literacy development is a shared responsibility of all staff who are working with the students in the school system, not just the general ed teacher. While we are looking at this, please remember that the Common Core State Standards is our guidebook to the essentials that we need to teach all students. However, it also has its limitations. It does not cover every detail that we need to implement the Common Core State Standards. For example, it covers what students would know, not how it's taught. It focuses on the essential concepts, but not everything that can and should be taught is listed in the Common Core State Standards. It sets standards, but it does not set the intervention strategies or tools to accomplish these standards. The standards are not intended to determine the support needs for students with special education needs. Remembering that the Common Core State Standards is a guidebook on the essentials that we need to teach all students. It is not intended to be all-encompassing of what we teach or how we teach it. Now, with that in mind, let's take an example of a Common Core State Standard in writing and apply it. I picked a writing standard randomly from the 4th grade. Orient the reader by establishing a situation and introducing a narrator and/or characters. Organize an event sequence that naturally unfolds. English Language Arts Writing 4.3. This is a writing standard that you will work toward with a 4th grade student. But before you start actually writing, have your students watched videos on this topic? Have they read a couple of stories about this topic? Have you provided some kind of hands-on experiences about this topic? These are all part of the literacy experience, and that experience requires social interaction and sharing the experiences with the videos, the stories, and the hands-on materials. Professional writers have to do research by reading, watching, and experiencing events before they write about them. So why would we do any less for our students to learn to write? You wouldn't, right? You are giving a variety of experiences to build background knowledge and working on making connections before you even ask the student to write or use any kind of writing techniques, right? Then you have our students who have significant learning challenges, and you scratch your head and ask yourself, how am I going to get Betty to write anything, let alone write something resembling one of these state standards? Well, we have essential elements that are an extended or modified version of the same state standards. So let's take a look at that one. For our students with significant learning challenges, we look at the essential elements from the Common Core State Standards. The essential elements parallels the Common Core for each grade and each standard in literacy instruction to help guide us to provide true access to the Common Core State Standards in a modified version. So for that same writing standard 4.3a, we have the parallel version in essential elements that states, write about personal experiences including 2 events in a sequence. You can see the parallel about writing a sequence of events, right? Another example of a state standard would be 4.3c, using a variety of transitional words and phrases to manage the sequence of events. However, there isn't a direct essential element for this standard for our students with intellectual disabilities or profound disabilities. It is encompassed in the previous essential element standard of sequencing personal events. So I just wanted to put in here, just because there isn't an essential element directly related to that state standard does not mean we do not introduce it or work on these concepts. We must remember that the Common Core standards are not all-encompassing. Let's take a look at some examples of what these state standards might look like for a student with significant learning challenges. For example, in the Common Core State Standard 4.3c, using transition words or phrases to manage a sequence of events applies to everyday life experiences, really. We can use them when we're talking about our schedule. First, we do our morning work. Next, we do math, etc. We can use them within an activity to talk about the steps. First, we do this, and then we do this, and then we do this. We can review that information to make connections with those real experiences. The concept is more familiar to Johnny or Susie within those contexts of putting a schedule together in the morning. This can also be a written expression for Common Core State Standard 4.3c of transition words and phrases, or 4.3a, organizing an event sequence that unfolds naturally. If Johnny is helping write his own schedule, it would not be meeting the standard if someone else wrote the schedule and handed it to him. Do you see the difference? If Johnny is at least assisting with the written expression version of his schedule, he is writing, and if he's not assisting with making the schedule, he's only reading it, and then it wouldn't fit the state standard under writing. So let's take a look at another example that might meet the same writing standard. Let's say you're doing a science lesson, studying the Earth's surface on the erosion concept, and you're going to use the transitional words or phrases to manage that sequence of events. So for students to make the connection, to build background knowledge, you're likely to view a video or two of Earth eroding. You're going to maybe read a story or two, and you can even set up a sandbox with hands-on materials to discuss the movement of the surface, making sure we're incorporating these words first, next, then, and finally. And at the end of the unit, the student should have a variety of experiences with the concept of sequencing in a social, meaningful manner. In this socially meaningful way, the student can then use a graphic organizer with a word bank or other familiar method of writing to put these ideas into a written form. We can set up our students' communication writing system with the words or pictures or objects to represent the concepts of first, next, then, and finally. Since we were practicing this during the activities and lesson, now it can be transferred into the writing portion. Remember, you may have used erosion to work on this concept of sequences for the majority of your students. Johnny is participating in all of this as a way to generalize the concept of sequencing in a meaningful way. By socially experiencing the sequence in another way and writing it with the pictures from the science lesson on erosion, Johnny was able to expand his understanding of these previously used concepts. I hope I haven't lost you yet, but we're going to plug ahead with another example. Another Common Core State Standard you might be working on in class is using descriptive words to write a paragraph, and that's used at a variety of grade levels. In this video, I want you to see how it was scaffolded with visual and auditory supports, so Jacob can select from a limited choice menu words to write his version of a paragraph to turn into his teacher. You can see there was one correction in the video, but depending on if you're using the writing task to demonstrate the student's ability to construct the sentences, which is with a main idea, or to teach and guide to use more grammatically correct word order, you can provide the feedback according to whatever your goal is for that writing task. Jake, which one are we going to write about today? Are we going to write about CD players or trucks? We're going to write about CD players? Okay. I want you to we're going to write about CD players. That's our topic for today. Good job. We're going to stick it right on there. What can you tell me about CD players? Okay, so Jake's going to buy it. We're going to have a CD, a paper on the picture. So the CD player goes around and it goes slow. You're going to buy it. Jake's going to buy it. What are you going to buy it with? You're going to buy it with some tape or with some money? You're going to buy it with some money. Okay. Do you want to talk about where you're going to buy it, or the light, or the music, or the tape? The light. The CD player is going to have a light. What color is the light going to be? What color is the light going to be? Blue. Okay. It's going to have a blue light. All right. Are you going to tell me any more about it? Do you like the music, or do you want more music? What about the music? Does the music go fast or slow? Which one's that one? Oh, tape. You have to tape the music. All right. Good job, buddy. Let's read your story. Jacob is writing about a CD player. A CD player he wants to print on paper to make a picture. He wants the CD player to go around, slow. He wants to buy, Jake Steinbach is going to buy the CD player. He's going to work to get money. It's going to have, light blue. How about blue light? Let's switch those words around. It's going to have a blue light. It's going to have music. And you're going to tape. What are you going to tape? You're going to tape the paper up. Yes? Okay, so we might need another word there. All right. Thank you, Jake. I hope you got to see that writing process and how quickly he responded, because he's had a lot of experience with that. Here's what it looked like when he finished writing. Do you think a teacher would know what his ideas were from reading his icon sequences? I know they might be a little hard to see in this picture. Here it is with the actual words that you could see on it. He wrote CD player, paper, picture, goes around, slow, Jake, buy, work, money, blue, light, music, tape. Do you have some idea what he might be trying to get across? I think you would, especially if you had interacted with him very much. You would know what he's writing about and what his interests are. And did this meet descriptive writing? Did he use descriptive words? Goes around, it's slow, light, blue. There were a few descriptive words in there. I want you to take 5 minutes and review these ideas. Let them sink in. What can you potentially use from these ideas with your student? How can you set up a regular routine to use every day so that he can practice written expression within the routines in your classroom?